Happy Tuesday, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Market Update, where we discuss leading financial and economic developments in Asia, Europe, and North America. My name is Tony. Let's jump in. And first up, world leaders convened yesterday, in Alberta, Canada, for the opening day of the Group of Seven G7 summit, against a backdrop of geopolitical volatility and economic uncertainty. The summit's agenda, normally focused on trade, global security, and economic coordination, was swiftly overtaken by the escalating conflict in the Middle East. The Israel-Iran war, now in its fifth day, has taken central stage. We will be discussing updates to this conflict later in the video. The UK and Italy emphasised the need for a diplomatic resolution, but any unified G7 call for de-escalation appeared out of reach, with Washington opposing such language. Despite the conflict, global markets have shown muted reactions. Oil prices fell slightly on Monday, and regional markets like Saudi Arabia's Tadawel rose 1%. Analysts suggest that investors are betting that violence will remain geographically limited, for now at least. Whether markets are correct or not, of course, remains to be seen. Indeed, others have said that this regional conflict could trigger wider strain on the international order. For Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, the summit host, the challenge was managing not only global tensions, but also the volatile US-Canada relationship. Carney, a seasoned crisis manager from his time at the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England, abandoned the traditional joint communique format in favour of more flexible discussions, an approach designed to minimise friction with US President Donald Trump. Still, tensions simmered. Trump's presence loomed large over the first day, marked by awkward moments, including a signing ceremony for a trade deal with the UK, in which he mischaracterised the agreement as being with the European Union. The deal, struck with UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, reduces US tariffs on British cars and civil aerospace products, while increasing UK quotas on select American agricultural exports. The agreement offers some economic breathing room for both nations. UK auto exports will benefit from a reduced 10% US tariff, down from 27.5% on up to 100,000 vehicles annually, and American beef products will gain access to UK markets under a 13,000-tonne quota. However, the steel sector remained excluded from the immediate benefits, a disappointment for London, which had been negotiating exemptions from Washington's 25% steel tariffs. The UK agreed to enhance transparency on the ownership of its steel supply chains amid US concerns about Chinese control over British steel. Meanwhile, Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba had a 30-minute meeting with Trump in Alberta as pressure mounts on the Japanese Prime Minister to make progress on a trade agreement. Japan has repeatedly sought the full removal of all tariffs currently imposed by the US, which includes a 25% levy on Japan's crucial automotive industry. Negotiations have appeared to flounder in recent weeks, however, with Tokyo's top negotiator describing the talks as something like, quote, walking through fog, end quote. Then, in a surprise move, the US president announced that he would be leaving after only the first day, Monday, reportedly to address developments in the Middle East. His absence on Tuesday today will likely prevent any consensus on critical issues such as Ukraine, sanctions on Russia, or a formal statement on the Israel-Iran conflict. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen met with Trump on the sidelines too, reaffirming her intent to continue trade talks in an effort to avoid another round of US tariffs on European goods. With mounting global challenges and fractured consensus among key Western powers, the G7 summit in Alberta has so far reflected the turbulence of a breaking down international order rather than offering clarity or cohesion. As leaders prepare for the second day of talks, which as a publication will just be starting, now without the US president, the path forward remains uncertain. Next up, of course, the big news, not just for markets, but global geopolitics, are the rising tensions in the Middle East. We take note of the salient developments from the last 24 hours. Israel has escalated its air campaign against Iran, striking high-profile targets, including buildings linked to a state-owned media company, reportedly during a live broadcast, and killing 4 senior officials of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in a targeted strike on the group's headquarters. The Israeli military had earlier issued warnings to residents in the area to evacuate. In a parallel development, US President Donald Trump took to social media, urging an immediate evacuation of Tehran, although the White House clarified that the United States was not directly participating in the Israeli strikes. The conflict, which has raged for several days, has left Tehran reeling. According to Iranian authorities, at least 224 civilians have been killed in Israeli attacks so far. Israel, meanwhile, has reported 24 deaths from Iranian missile strikes. Despite the ongoing assault, Iranian officials have reportedly signaled through Arab intermediaries their willingness to resume nuclear negotiations, suggesting a desire to de-escalate the conflict. This is not surprising, as Israeli forces have claimed significant tactical advantages. A military spokesperson said Israel has destroyed around 120 of Israel's surface-to-surface missile launches, roughly a third of its known arsenal, along with 100 other targets overnight in central Iran, including Isfahan, which houses the country's largest stockpile of enriched uranium. Israeli air operations involved nearly 50 aircraft targeting missile launch sites, storage facilities, and command centers. Still, the Israeli National Security Council head cautioned that Iran retains thousands of missiles. Quote, "This isn't a campaign that will eliminate the threat in a few days," end quote, he told Army Radio. Meanwhile, tensions are drawing in international forces. The USS Nimitz carrier strike group is en route to the Middle East to join the USS Carl Vinson, which has been in the region since April. US officials say the rotation was scheduled, but is now being accelerated due to the unfolding crisis. In Tehran, scenes of panic unfolded as residents rushed to flee the city, causing massive traffic jams and long queues at gas stations. Authorities have advised those near key infrastructure sites to evacuate and recommended that residents take shelter in metro stations. Next up, we have one more development to cover. If you're getting some value from today's episode of Market Update and you'd like to continue to be on top of the most up-to-date analysis on major market moves around the world through an independent channel without any corporate affiliations, consider subscribing to Market Update, hit the bell notification icon, and you will be. And if you're getting some value from today's episode, don't forget to hit the like button. Thank you so much. Next up and finally for today, the European Commission is set to propose a sweeping ban on new contracts for Russian gas as early as today, Tuesday, using EU trade law to bypass opposition from member states such as Hungary and Slovakia. The move is part of a broader effort to eliminate the EU's dependence on Russian fossil fuels by 2027, following Moscow's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. By the time this video is released, this may have already happened, actually. According to several outlets, including the UK-based Financial Times and the UK-based Reuters, the ban would take immediate effect for new contracts. Existing short-term pipeline and liquefied natural gas (LNG) deals would be terminated by 2026, while long-term contracts must end by the 1st of January 2028. To accommodate Hungary and Slovakia, the landlocked nations heavily reliant on Russian gas, exemptions would apply until 2027. The plan represents a strategic shift from sanctions, which require unanimous approval, to a trade law mechanism that allows passage with a qualified majority. Citing provisions in the EU's founding treaty related to energy security, the Commission aims to ensure the continuity of gas supply while insulating the bloc from geopolitical pressure. In 2024, Russian gas still made up 14% of EU imports, down from around 40% before the Ukraine invasion in 2022, but still up from 2023 levels due to rising Russian LNG shipments. Enforcement would require companies to declare the origin of imported gas to customs authorities. Energy Commissioner Dan Jorgensen stressed the importance of ensuring supply security and price stability. However, legal concerns remain. Some member states fear companies could face compensation claims from Russia for unilaterally breaking contracts. The Hungarian foreign minister harshly criticized the plan, calling it an infringement on national sovereignty and warning that Hungary might cut electricity exports to Ukraine, which depends on Hungary for 40% of its EU power imports. Slovakia's Deputy Economy Minister, Vladimir Simonák, voiced dissatisfaction too, noting uncertainty over who would cover penalty fees for early contract terminations and how Slovakia would secure alternative suppliers post-2028. Despite such resistance, most EU leaders support the shift. France and Spain back diversification efforts. Indeed, Spain has proposed that the EU centrally cover any costs, that is, compensation costs arising from broken contracts. Okay, that is today's episode of Market Update. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching. Have a good Tuesday, and I will see you for another update tomorrow.